afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan Scripps, Chair of the Michigan Public Service Commission. I call this meeting of the Commission to order on July 2nd, 2024 at 1 o'clock p.m. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chair Scripps.
Present.
Commissioner Peretick.
Present.
Commissioner Carrion. Present. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Today's meeting is being held in person at the Commission's offices at 7109 West Saginaw Highway in Lansing. We are also hosting this meeting remotely using Microsoft Teams. It is compatible with all browsers except Safari. Telephone relay service is available through the phone option. If you are participating via Microsoft Teams, you may also turn on the live captions by clicking on the More button at the top right of your Teams window, then clicking on Language and Speech from the drop-down menu, and finally clicking on Turn on Live Captions. As indicated in the notice for today's meeting, if we lose the remote connection, the Commission will not recess, but the meeting will be recorded and available for future reference on the Commission's website. In addition, the Commissioners can receive comments via mpsc_commissioners@michigan.gov. For reference, this email is also included in today's meeting notice. We will have an opportunity for the public to make comments as provided in the agenda. A few notes about this. Comments are limited to 3 minutes and one per person. If you would like to make verbal comments, you must do so in person or remotely through Microsoft Teams or by calling into the meeting by phone. For individuals attending in person and who want to make a verbal comment, please fill out a comment card. You can find those on the front table near the podium. For individuals participating remotely by Microsoft Teams and who want to make a verbal comment, you may click on the Raise Hand button at any time to be queued up for comment. For individuals participating remotely by phone and who want to make a verbal comment, you may press *5 at any time to be queued up for comment. And public commenters on both Microsoft Teams and on the phone are added to the same speaker queue and will be called upon in the order that they enter the speaker queue. So please do not lower your hand or press *5 again, or you'll be removed from the queue and lose your place in line. To minimize disruptions, attendees participating by Microsoft Teams or by phone will be muted until we reach the time for public comment. The first order of business is approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
I move for the approval of the agenda for today's Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve today's agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The agenda is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the June 6, 2024 Commission meeting.
I move for the approval of the minutes from the June 6, 2024 Commission meeting.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the minutes from the June 6, 2024 Commission meeting. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The Commission meeting minutes of our Grand Rapids meeting from June 6, 2024 are approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the approval of orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. And today the Commission is assisted by Staff Attorney Leah Arndt. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Good afternoon. Today's consent agenda consists of 6 communications matters and 2 electric matters. The proposed orders and minute actions for these matters have been thoroughly vetted by the Commission's technical and legal staff and are ready for your approval.
Thank you, Ms. Arndt. I move for the approval of the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the orders and minute actions on the consent agenda. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The orders and minute actions on the consent agenda are approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4A1 is case number U-21625, which involves an application filed by AT&T Enterprises LLC, formerly known as AT&T Enterprises Inc., for a permanent license to provide basic local exchange service. The order before you grants the license.
Thank you, Ms. Arndt. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21625.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21625 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B1 is case number U-17377, which involves setting the Low-Income Energy Assistance Fund factor. The order before you establishes a deadline for the filing of comments on the proposed factor by 5 p.m. Eastern Time on July 15, 2024.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-17377.
I second the motion.
Before we vote on the order before us, I'd like to note that after receiving information on participation from investor-owned electric utilities, cooperative electric utilities, and municipally owned electric utilities, we are proposing a funding factor of 87 cents, which is down a penny from the current monthly charge. Last year, this modest amount of funding helped 56,948 Michigan households who are struggling with their energy bills, not just electricity, but also natural gas and even propane and other delivered fuels. I'd also note that under the law, those utilities that choose not to participate are then not allowed to shut off service to any residential customer from November 1st to April 15th for non-payment of a delinquent account. In addition, state law requires that funds need to be returned to the regions of the state from which they were collected to the extent possible. I want to express my appreciation to the many groups and individuals who use the available funding to help struggling Michiganders all across our state, including our network of nonprofit service agencies who provide assistance under the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, or MEAP, and the MEAP section and the broader Customer Assistance Division here at the Commission for their work, including the quick turnaround from when this information was required to be filed, literally yesterday at 5 p.m., to calculate the proposed funding factor and provide an opportunity for public comment on this under the statutory timelines set by the legislature. Is there any additional discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-17377 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B2 is case number U-21172, which involves an application filed by DTE Electric Company requesting approval of its voluntary green pricing program. The order before you denies the respective petitions for rehearing filed by the Michigan Energy Innovation Business Council, Institute for Energy Innovation, and Advanced Energy United, and Solidarity and We Want Green Too, and approves a partial settlement agreement that resolves all issues in this docket.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21172.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21172 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B3 is case number U-21461, which involves an application filed by Indiana Michigan Power Company for authority to increase its rates for the generation and distribution of electricity and for other relief. Staff member Kayla Gibbs will describe this order.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kayla Gibbs, and I serve as a Commissioner Advisor in the Commission Office. On September 15th, 2023, Indiana Michigan Power Company, or I&M, filed an application requesting authority to increase its annual Michigan jurisdictional electric sales revenue by $34 million. I&M also requested other forms of regulatory relief, including new and modified tariffs and riders, changes to its distributed generation DG program, as well as requested deferral accounting for certain regulatory treatment. Further, I&M requested approval for costs related to its distribution system, including asset renewal, risk mitigation, grid modernization, and financial support for new technology, storm expense, and voluntary prepay billing. It also sought financial support to recover costs for its license for the Cook nuclear plant. The rate increase requested in this proceeding is based on the company's projection for investments, expenses, and revenues for a 12-month billing period ending December 31st of 2024. This billing period is also referred to as the projected test year. The utility's previous rates were established under a settlement agreement approved in 2020, and its last fully litigated rate case was approved in 2018. I&M proposed a return on equity of 10.5% with an overall rate of return of 6.42%. The company also requested a permanent capital structure of approximately 50.62% equity and 49.38% debt, and included a projected average rate base of $1.251 billion in Michigan jurisdiction for the test year. The company stated that the rate increase was necessary to cover revenue requirement changes related to rate base, sales forecast, operation and maintenance expenses, open access distribution services, and other expenses, including amortization and recovery of certain deferred assets. In addition to MPSC staff, intervention was granted to several parties in the case, including the Association of Businesses Advocating Tariff Equity, the Michigan Department of Attorney General, Citizens Utility Board of Michigan, City of Auburn, Indiana, the Ecology Center, the Environmental Law and Policy Center, Vote Solar, Energy Michigan, the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association, Michigan Energy Innovation Business Council, the Institute for Energy Innovation, Advanced Energy United, and Wabash Valley Power Association. The order before you provides guidance on several topics, a few of which are highlighted here. First, the Commission accepts the company's sales forecast. However, in future rate cases, I&M shall provide its rate design and forecast models to other parties in a replicable manner so that the forecast can be recreated and forecast inputs and assumptions can be viewed and verified by those involved in the case. I&M shall submit sales data normalizations on both a 15 and 20-year rolling basis. Next, on nuclear capital expenditure projects, the order approves the local area network project to create a wireless infrastructure for the Cook nuclear plant, which will improve safety and reliability of the plant. Additionally, the order approves I&M's pursuit of a subsequent license renewal for Cook nuclear units 1 and 2 to proactively extend operational life. On advanced metering infrastructure, while the Commission finds merit in this program, the Commission found the company's presentation of its costs and benefits unsupported and unclear. Therefore, only recovery of historical spend is approved. The company may seek recovery in the future for 2023 and/or 2024 expenditures, though the Commission expects to see quantified benefits to Michigan customers supported by persuasive evidence on the record, including the actual expenditures spent each year, clearly presented without conflicting amounts. Several information technology expenditures are partially or fully disallowed, including among them a full disallowance of the Michigan jurisdictional share of the Power Pay program, a voluntary prepayment billing option due to numerous evidentiary deficiencies, and lack of customer interest in such a program for Michigan's customer base. Regarding advanced distribution management system enhancements and distributed energy resource management systems, also known as ADMS DERMS, the Commission directs I&M to record a regulatory liability for any funds received from a successfully awarded Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act grant. However, rejects the company's request to defer grant writing and application costs. Furthermore, the Commission directs the issue of DERMS cost allocation to be addressed in the ongoing demand response aggregation work group to appropriately determine fees. Within 60 days of this order, I&M shall initiate a separate proceeding to apply for a new DG tariff that complies with the requirement of Public Act 235 of 2023. The company shall immediately transfer any eligible DG customers under the company's cogen or small power production service tariff to the existing DG tariff until such a new tariff is approved. In addition, the company shall retroactively compensate DG customers that remained under the cogeneration and/or small power production service tariff since the Public Act 235 of 2023 went into effect on February 27th of 2024. I&M is directed to file a transportation electrification plan, which shall include the utility's comprehensive electric vehicle program proposal in case number U-21538. Finally, regarding vegetation management, in its next general electric rate case, the company shall present its findings from considering shorter pole inspection intervals. It shall also conduct a tree trimming cost-benefit analysis in its next general rate case, including expanding trimming protocols to include the trimming of all overhangs above primary lines, and expanding the clearance zone around pole-to-pole triplex to 20 feet, and expanding the radius around pole-to-pole triplex to 10 feet. The company shall begin tracking the status of residential service drop trimming requests with a specified data to be included in its next general rate case. The order before you adopts a calendar year 2024 test year, a 48% debt to 52% equity capital structure, a jurisdictional rate base of $1.222 billion, and an authorized rate of return on common equity of 9.86%, and an overall rate of return of 6.03%. The order authorized I&M to implement rates that increase its annual electric revenues by $14.997 million on a jurisdictional basis over the rates approved in the January 23rd, 2020 order in case number U-20359. I&M is authorized to implement the rates approved by this order on or after July 16th of 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21461.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion before we vote? Mr.
Thanks,
Carey?
Chair. Sure. First, I want to thank the many individuals who contributed significant time, effort, and expertise to this case. Thanks to all the parties who intervened and bolstered the evidentiary record to supply a diversity of perspectives for the Commission's consideration, to Administrative Law Judge Captain Talbot, who presided over this case and issued a very clear and comprehensive proposal for decision, and of course to all our MPSC staff, advisors, and attorneys who provided their extremely knowledgeable and skillful support and analysis while also fulfilling numerous concurrent responsibilities and obligations at the Commission in service of the Michigan public. My comments on this case revolve around two interacting themes: adherence to standards and management of expectations. And I'll address standards first. There are certain standards an applicant company must follow when filing a rate case to substantiate claims adequately. The Commission must determine whether the utility proved its case in justifying its requested expenditure recovery or proposals as being just and reasonable through the preponderance of the evidence standard. And the utility has a distinct burden of proof, unlike other parties in the case, and must support each element of its application rigorously. This means, contrary to any company notion that compliance with rate case filing requirements alone may satisfy the burden of proof, doing so as a bare minimum is not, in fact, adequate in fulfilling this burden or demonstrating reasonableness and prudence of expenditures, nor meets the legal standard for our rate cases, as rate case filing requirements are, after all, just that, requirements. They are necessary, but they're not sufficient. An example of misapplying this standard can be seen where the company attempted to substitute projects canceled from its original evidentiary filing with new ones without adequate justification, hindering the Commission's ability to evaluate reasonableness and prudence. Proposed capital expenditures must be supported by detailed and current documentation to be made in the year for which the utility projects spending to occur, and where projects proposed in direct evidence no longer occur or will occur against different timelines or costs. The Commission can't consider the direct evidence still competent and substantial. And so the same evaluation barriers can result from attempted use of blanket order funds, for example, that are set aside for needs that have not been identified or that lack descriptions, benefits to customers, or identified costs. When thorough and adequately supported information isn't provided up front, interveners like staff may and did find themselves completing multiple rounds of audit to understand projected costs, can receive contradictory information without clear detail of how the costs would be spent. I'll also say data accessibility and transparency underpin the ability to meet these standards. The Commission continues to emphasize that data be provided in non-proprietary formats to ensure that all parties can effectively analyze submitted data. And then the second theme around managing expectations underscores the Commission's role in evaluating rate case applications impartially. And based on company comments made throughout this case, it merits reiterating the role of the Commission in evaluating a rate case application, which is governed by statute, and that is our primary responsibility is to ensure rates are just and reasonable. The Commission has no duty guaranteeing the financial health of an IOU as asserted by the company, nor supporting what the utility has self-ascribed as a core function through economic development. And this reminder reinforces that the IOU must provide sufficient evidence to support financial claims, ensuring that the Commission can evaluate the reasonableness and prudency of all expenditures and projections presented. The Commission remains focused on fair and reasonable rate determinations while holding IOUs accountable for providing transparent and credible evidence. A utility may not expect the Commission to de-risk financial health and present evidence that is mystifyingly difficult to decipher, isn't transparent, or doesn't meet standards, and must proffer complete data on the record for all parties and the Commission's evaluation. Else there's no way to assess reasonableness and prudency of submitted proposals or cost recovery requests and their benefits to Michigan customers. And then finally, I do want to point out a couple of directives from this order that demonstrate collaborative progress in statewide initiatives across electric provider programs. First, as Ms. Gibbs noted, we ordered that I&M file a comprehensive transportation electrification plan, including a cost-benefit analysis, and this directive strives for greater engagement, planning, and forecasting around EV adoption and needed charging infrastructure for EV drivers and passengers in Michigan. And second, I just want to voice support for I&M's parent company's pursuit of federal grant funds for advanced distribution management system software integration with Distributed Energy Resource Management Systems, or DERMS, and accordingly, we look forward to having questions related to DERMS cost allocation topics addressed in our ongoing demand response aggregation work group. And all these initiatives aim to meet evolving customer needs and deliver benefits to customers in Michigan more effectively.
Thank you, Commissioner Carrion. Is there additional discussion?
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'd just like to note one correction to Ms. Gibbs' excellent presentation. The rate increase that's presented in the order before us is for $17.3 million. First, I'd just like to thank the MPSC staff for their excellent work on this case and for their expert testimony on the record, and to our advisors and for their countless hours preparing and providing advice and guidance for us. And I'd also just like to give a special thanks to Administrative Law Judge Catherine Talbot, who presided over this case, for her very well-written and thorough proposal for decision. The order before us, as described by Ms. Gibbs, lays out our reasoning and decisions for the approvals in this case. But unfortunately, as Commissioner Carrion noted, many of these decisions were quite difficult to make due to the quality of information on the records that was submitted by the company. Accessibility and transparency of information is crucial. It's necessary for staff, for interveners, and ultimately for us as the Commission to have a full and robust record to be able to make informed decisions that are in the best interests of I&M's customers. There were many times as we were deliberating this case that we found ourselves lacking the information necessary. And we've included directives throughout this order that's before us now to improve the quality of data, transparency of the calculations and models, and qualitative, robust support. I would also specifically like to express my disappointment in the way that I&M recategorized their employee incentive pay that was tied to financial performance, which has been consistently disallowed in case after case by commission after commission from O&M to capital in an effort to circumvent their last order. The order before us disallows all of these costs within our legal ability. Planning for the future of our electric system is more important now than ever before, and as a result, the order before us requires I&M to submit its first transportation electrification plan, as noted by Commissioner Carrion. And I'm really looking forward to receiving this and ensuring that we have enough capacity in the right locations to be able to serve our changing grid. The $17.3 million rate increase in the order before us will provide funds for needed reliability investments, pay for new generation projects as approved in the company's integrated resource plan, and provide initial funding for relicensing of the Cook nuclear plant, all things that are necessary to providing safe, accessible, and reliable electricity service.
Thank you, Commissioner Paratek. I'd also like to make a few comments before we vote on the order before us. First, I'd echo my colleagues' appreciation for the work done on this case by the range of intervening parties, our attorneys and advisors, and as noted, particularly to Judge Catherine Talbot, the presiding administrative law judge in this proceeding, for her efforts, both in running a smooth process and for producing a well-written, well-documented, well-supported proposal for decision. In addition, as both my colleagues noted, there was a lot of debate in the testimony about the level of detail needed to justify the company's proposed investments and other spending. Under Michigan law, the Commission may, but is not required to, allow utilities to make use of a projected test year. We have approved the use of projected test years in previous cases and did so again in this case. However, to ensure that the use of a projected test year truly serves the interests of customers, the Commission needs to ensure several elements are met. First is the underlying question of whether the proposed investments or spending are reasonable and prudent. This is the same test we use in evaluating historical spending, looking to see whether there is a solid rationale for the spending, as well as whether the proposed cost is appropriate. But for future investments and spending that a utility proposes to include in a projected test year, the Commission also needs some degree of confidence that the funds approved for inclusion in customer rates on a going forward basis will ultimately spent in the manner proposed by the company and which the Commission has determined are in fact reasonable and prudent. In making this determination, we look at whether the projected costs are well supported, as opposed to being mere estimates or placeholders, whether the proposed projects have the necessary internal improvements that make them more likely to go forward, and whether the projected spending will in fact take place during the projected test year, among other elements. As noted, in a number of cases, this level of evidentiary support was missing in the current case. That doesn't necessarily mean that the projects are unreasonable or that I&M wouldn't be able to recover capital investments after the fact upon a showing of reasonableness and prudence. But it does mean that these projected costs are not eligible to be included in customer rates at this time, largely because of the uncertainty of whether the proposed projects will happen or when they will happen based on the deficiencies in the record. I would hope to see a fuller evidentiary record of support to support projects in future cases if the company hopes to include them in rates as part of a projected test year. And as Commissioner Peretick noted, more concerning to me was the company's approach to incentive compensation tied to the utility's financial performance, as opposed to core operational metrics around reliability and safety. In the company's last case, the Commission disallowed all incentive compensation tied to financial metrics, consistent with our approach in any number of other rate case proceedings going back many years. Instead, you would think that this message would have been received, but you would be wrong. Instead, as Commissioner Peretick noted, I&M recategorized, or what I'd call an accounting gimmick, to change how this incentive compensation was treated, switching it from an expense under operations and maintenance to a capitalized investment and simply hoping that we wouldn't notice. That stinks. Under the regulatory compact that has existed for more than a century, we entrust investor-owned utilities to provide a critical service to their customers and allow them to earn a reasonable profit in doing so. When the utility mindset shifts instead to asking, what can we get away with? Dark days are ahead. At one point in the testimony, a witness for the Attorney General, trying to determine an appropriate amount of revenue to be charged to customers, acknowledged that they couldn't be exact, but offered that the company deserved the benefit of the doubt. Instances like this one very much call into question whether the benefit of the doubt is in fact deserved. We've seen over the last several years a not insignificant number of scandals involving utility companies, including I&M's parent company, where utilities played games with their regulators and played fast and loose with the rules. I strongly encouraged the company to do better in maintaining the confidence of their customers and the public trust that is perhaps the most valuable commodity of all, underlying the role these companies perform in providing the most essential of essential services. We'll now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21461 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B4 is case number U-21627, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to update the Energy Waste Reduction Plan instructions and forms pursuant to MCL 460.1093. The order before you approves the revised forms and instructions.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21627.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21627 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4B5 is case number U-21637, which involves a matter on the Commission's own motion to investigate opportunities for improving the process by which the Commission reviews rate case applications. The order before you extends the period for filing initial and reply comments.
Thank you, Ms. Arndt. I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21637.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21637 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4C1 is case number U-21331, which involves an application filed by DTE Gas Company for approval of a one-time voluntary refund of revenue. The order before you acknowledges DTE Gas Company's compliance with the refund method approved in the Commission's April 13th, 2023 order in this case and closes the docket in this proceeding.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21331.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21331 is approved. I recognize Ms. Arndt.
Item 4C2 is case number U-21589, which involves an application filed by Consumers Energy Company for ex parte approval to construct and operate the proposed Lion 29 well line and 50/50 line, consisting of 12-inch and 16-inch natural gas pipelines, and a proposed extension of the 29/34 line, which is an existing 12-inch natural gas pipeline in the Lion 29 and Lion 34 storage fields. The order before you approves the application and makes the required agency findings regarding the project's environmental impact.
I move for the approval of the order in case number U-21589.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? We will now have a vote on the motion to approve the order. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by a unanimous vote. The order in case number U-21589 is approved. We've now reached the time reserved for members of the public to address the commission. As mentioned in the notice for today's meeting, we will take public comments in the following order. First from individuals attending in person, and then from individuals participating remotely, either through Microsoft Teams or the phone, who have entered the speaker queue. As a reminder, this public comment period is for commissioners to listen to comments and concerns and not to answer specific questions. When providing comment, please indicate your name and where you live if you're willing to share so that we have it for our records. And again, please limit comments to one per person and keep them brief, no longer than 3 minutes, so we have a chance to hear from all who would like to comment. I don't think that we have any comment cards that have been submitted at this time. Is there anybody who wishes to provide in-person public comment today? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the virtual options, and we do have one individual, Arthur Siegel. And so I would call on you to unmute your phone or computer, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Arthur Siegel. I live in Beverly Hills, Michigan. First of all, just a technical comment. Somebody needs to work a little bit on the sound quality and volume, because when you were on your third item on your consent agenda, the very beginning of, I think it's Ms. Gibbs' discussion was completely unhearable. It was so quiet. I'm here to speak to you today about climate change, severe storms, and the commission's efforts, hopefully efforts, to hold the major utilities accountable, both for their poor communication and transparency and poor response time. As I believe I mentioned, I live in Beverly Hills, Michigan, a small suburb sandwiched between Southfield and Birmingham. And we had, as you are probably aware, I know I've written to all of you via email, a significant storm a couple of weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago tomorrow. And in Beverly Hills, I mean, it was a severe storm at, 3 or 4 miles away. It wasn't bad at all, but in Beverly Hills and surrounding areas, it was quite bad. There were a number of trees down, and we had some significant outages. And in fact, our outage on my street lasted for over 66 hours. I have to tell you, DTE's communication and transparency through their portal was abysmal. They need to be upgrading their game in terms of communicating with their customers as to what's going on, where the outages are, if they're being serviced, if they're not being serviced, and why not, and when they will be, where you are in the queue, if you will. They don't seem to know where their repair crews are. In fact, when I've spoken to individuals at their call center, they've literally told me, we have no idea where the crews are. I can tell you where my children's phones are via an app on my phone. I don't know why they don't know where their crews are. Furthermore, I believe that they continue to prioritize larger circuits to the detriment of smaller circuits. I know that there were people who were out less than 12 hours in other communities, people who went down Thursday when we went down on Wednesday, and we did not see a single crew until Friday night. They didn't start working until 48 hours after the storm had passed through. And that to me is simply unacceptable. We've had significant outages in the past. I don't know what the issue is, but I know that it needs to be addressed, and DTE must be held accountable. They must do a better job. We're only going to see more and more of these significant storms, and they are ill prepared to respond. You need to make sure that they both communicate accurately and not tell untruths, because that's what they think the customers want to hear. And they also need to be providing greater compensation for outages in excess of 48 hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Okay, I don't see anybody else queued up for public comment at this point, so we'll close the public comment period. I do have one announcement, and that is that last month, which was just 2 days ago, but on June 24th, we released our annual summer energy outlook, which showed that Michiganders can expect slightly lower costs for gasoline, natural gas, and diesel fuel and home heating oil this summer, but some customers have seen an increase in electricity costs driven both by higher rates and increased sales. Residential electricity demand is expected to rise this summer, while home demand for natural gas is expected to decline, though gas for use in electricity generation is likely to increase, were some of the findings of that annual summer energy forecast, which was again released June 24th. I'd also note that energy assistance information is available through the MPSC's Energy Assistance Consumer Tip Sheet. Utility customers can also help reduce their costs by using energy efficiently, and the MPSC's consumer tip on beating the heat has suggestions on how to do exactly that. We also have a link on our website to the U.S. Department of Energy's spring and summer tips for saving energy, and all of that information, both the summer outlook, our tip sheets, and the U.S. DOE's tips are available on the Commission's website, which is michigan.gov/MPSC. I believe there may be additional announcements.
I was going to follow up on what you just ended with.
Excellent.
in a lot more detail, but I think that's okay because it's important. I did want to, in fact, raise some of those helpful pointers that the chair just mentioned, since we recently issued some news releases and even through our own newsletter, which if you haven't signed up for it yet, is called the MPSC Spotlight. But I wanted to underscore that given the recent heat wave we had at the end of June, which feels like a distant memory given today's weather, it is important that the public is aware of some of the tips that we communicated to make sure people are comfortable and safe and consider their energy costs along the way. And so, again, just to reiterate some of what the chair noted, we want to make sure we prioritize public safety. So anyone in need of immediate assistance when temperatures increase significantly can always seek out local government cooling centers or any other publicly available place that's air conditioned. And as was noted earlier, considering our changing climate and more frequent incidents of extreme heat waves, it's really important and crucial to have a plan for emergent cooling needs that people may not be able to address or perhaps even afford when they're at their own home. And some other additional steps to consider that we shared and that I'll just remind people about here to help save energy at these high temperatures include things like turning up the temperature in your own home air conditioning just a few degrees to ensure your comfort, or you can use zoned AC to cool the spaces you're occupying, close your windows when your AC is on, and then you can consider doing laundry or running the dishwasher during morning or late evening hours. And all of these steps can make sure there's a balance between having enough electricity during high energy demand and keeping everyone safe. And just to note too, our state's two largest electric utilities, DTE Electric and Consumers Energy, institute higher rates during summertime peak weekday hours. So customers who use energy-intensive appliances during the morning or late evening hours may end up paying less to use them. And again, I'll make sure to note the Beat the Heat and Save Tip sheet that the chair mentioned, all available on our website. And finally, always remember to check in on your vulnerable relatives and neighbors during periods of intense heat, and that'll help us all take care of each other.
That was much better than mine. Well done. With that, that concludes today's meeting. The next regular commission meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024 at 10 o'clock a.m. We wouldn't do that to you, but do note the change in time from our usual meeting time. Is there a motion to adjourn, Commissioner Paratek?
I move to adjourn today's commission meeting.
I second the motion.
We will now have a vote on the motion to adjourn today's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries by unanimous vote. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.